there is no substitute for having experiences of producing a play, whether you are an actor, whether you are an assistant stage manager, whether you are running a light board, whether you are, there is no experience, there's just no substitute for going through different kinds of production processes from the beginning to the end and getting your 10,000 hours, so to speak. And hopefully the things that we do in the classroom are setting people up to do that, or in some way they are those experiences themselves. But I think that the way that I learned as much as I know about the theater was through, ironically, being a middling actor. You know, I liked being around the process. So I would get myself cast in these small parts when I was going to school. And I don't know if that, I think maybe they didn't know how to do staggered calls, or we just always seemed to be all called for every rehearsal. And I just didn't really have much to do other than, come on and make them laugh in a couple scenes as the wacky uncle or whatever. But I would watch the rehearsals and I would think, oh, when I read this script, this part seemed really funny. But when they're doing it, it's not funny. I wonder how they should change it to make it funny in the way that I read it as in the script. Or conversely, I would see an incredible actor, someone who was, my peer as a student, but was so much more advanced and deep than I was, bring something out of a text that I did not know was there. It was like, oh, I didn't know that that was there. And it was those hours that I spent on the margins of so many theater productions that were as valuable as experiences that I had in the classroom. So I think that there is, and I would imagine that I was lucky because I was in a situation where I had a lot of exposure to people that I thought had a good process or an interesting process or something that I could learn from or something that was effective. I remember I was running a soundboard for summer stock, and I was really sort of, overwhelmed with all the cues. There was a lot of underscoring, and it was and I had my head in my cue sheets, and I had hands, and they said, okay, hold. And they said, okay, she wants you, they would call the cue and they would say, okay, she wants you to run the cue faster. So we would do it again, and I would run the cue faster. And then it was like, okay, we're going to do it again. She wants you to run the cue slower. So I ran the cue slower. And then they stopped again, and they said, she wants you to feel the moment. And so I took my head out of the script and I looked up out the window of the booth, and I looked at how what I was doing was a part of a moment that this director was trying to create. And they weren't successful in telling me to go faster or slower, but when they told me to feel the moment, I watched how what I was doing was a part of this whole moment. And that's what we remember when we go to the theater is we remember moments. We remember moments that are so striking that they burn themselves into our consciousness decades later. I can remember so many specific moments from theater productions that I saw. And I guess figuring out how do you make those moments happen was a reason that I sort of circled the process until I figured out, oh, there's a role that is the person who says, feel the moment, that sort of draws those strands together.